Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about hate and revenge. And no, I'm not going to talk about how to exact vengeance on somebody. I'm going to talk about why this is really a very negative thing, and it should be perceived more, it's a weakness more than anything else. We look at hate, malice, revenge, and we look at it like, well, should this, we try to justify it a lot. We say, well, this person did this to us, so we're going to go out and do this to somebody else. Sometimes when we project anger onto somebody, I think in a lot of instances it's a reflection of our own inadequacies, of our defaults and deficiencies. Sometimes the person that we're directing anger on, it's so unjustified, and it's just because we finally unleashed that anger that was being suppressed and held back to whoever was handy, like saying, yelling at somebody. And a lot of times it's somebody close to us that really didn't do anything to deserve it. I lost a friend. I believe I've mentioned this in other videos, at least one other, that a little over 2 years ago we had a spat, and it was over a trivial dispute, and he abruptly deleted me as a friend on Facebook, and he blocked me, and to this day we haven't reconciled. I tried writing him at least one time, maybe 2 or 3 times, and didn't hear back from him. And it just shows you that this is so emblematic of some people just in society in general, that something about getting this person back, or just this vengeance thing and being vindictive, like it really accomplishes something. Well, actuality, it really doesn't, because what actually happens is, I think in a lot of instances, that the person that is angry or taking their hate out on somebody is really hurting themselves more than they're hurting the other person that they're directing this at. And in revenge, the time that they got to take to formulate their plan, a lot of times their revenge, quote-unquote revenge, is not even legal. They could face legal repercussions and ramifications. So that's another thing to factor into consideration as far as something like this goes. And I mean, I've had a number of friends in the course of my life, and I guess I'll use those terms, friends, very loosely, that we would have some kind of trivial dispute similar to what I was describing before with this other person, and they would, I mean, it's not inexplicably eradicate the friendship, but they would eradicate the friendship over very, in my opinion, insignificant issues. And I think we could take so much more, expend this energy, this anger and revenge, into things that are so much more productive, like enhancing our own lives and doing things for ourselves, to better ourselves, to augment ourselves in our lives, and doing positive things for ourselves and others, working on our positive attributes and qualities. And the thing about it is, I know in some cases where you try to make up with a person and reconcile, and it doesn't, and if they're not willing to meet you on this, then there's really not much you can do. We still have to, I guess you could say, love thy brother, and at the same time, if somebody, I understand there's times when people will do things to hurt you, and you want to, I mean, your first impulse or inclination is to get this person back somehow. Well, now if somebody did something illegal, that's one thing, and if it's something where you could take him or her to court, if it's over theft or something, or what have you, it's something illegal and you have that legal right, then by all means do it. But like they say on the People's Court, or at least I know they did some time ago, I don't know if they still have it, but I remember a slogan, something that went like, don't take the law into your own hands, you take them to court. And that's really the main way, or I should say really the only way something like that should be handled. If you want to go out and do something, exact revenge on a person, the odds are it's going to be something that has at least some illegal thing that's associated with it, and you may get yourself in really a lot of problems for this. Now, what's funny is that hate, the way it manifests, it comes out in manifold ways of being expressed in ways that we can look at this. Now, it's kind of like, I'll hear stories on things on the news where parents will kill their children just because they don't want the responsibility of taking care of him or her. The thing about it is, they may not in all cases, they may not have hated their children, but hate was still in there because they really despised the responsibility aspect or element of the whole deal. So hate is still, it seems like it's inextricably interwound with so many things, and even when we don't really think we're actually expressing it, there is a lot of times an expression that's in it, in a lot of our actions that are connected with it, or they're associated with things that we don't want to be part of, things we want to extricate ourselves from. And it just really, it's terrible how that we take all this time in a lot of cases where we can, I mean, I'm speaking in general when I say we, I'm not saying anybody specifically, but where people will take all this energy and spend it on formulating some plan. Let's get him or her back, and this and that, or I'm going to get angry, I'm going to tell that person off. And sometimes telling somebody off is example, of course, that's not illegal, but doing that, sometimes people feel, well, I was able to vent my anger, it made me feel better, I was able to unleash a lot of frustration. Well, you could tell, telling a person off is one thing, but you have to remember too, did it really get back? What did it really accomplish? It might have made you feel better at that time. Now, if this is something, for example, over money owed, that's obviously not going to change anything. Like I said, you go through the legal route as something like that goes. Now, somebody was just saying something to you, and it was something derogatory or slanderous. Well, slander is actually illegal, but if somebody says something derogatory, calls you a name, something where you can't really take them to court for, somebody wants to respond, and I guess that's, it's discretional, but at the same time, it's still, it's not changing what happened and what was said to you anyway. So that's, I guess that's up to the individual person. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a perfect person as far as it goes. Somebody says something to me, a lot of times I will respond and I will say something back, in which I know I'm not exactly epitomizing adult behavior by any means by doing that. Unfortunately, I will still do that because I'm not infallible and I am a human being. It's really, and that's the whole thing, a lot of times the human element or aspect comes into play. And I think when I look at things like this, it's just a shame where people can really express love in so many instances and go through reconciliation and not be so fixated and obsessed with being vindictive and being vengeful or getting this person back because he or she did you wrong. Like I stated before, if it's a legal matter, that's one thing. You won't bring them to court. It's just a thing called justice. Now, justice has to be served in some cases, and that's why a lot of times people will be served papers to go to court. That's a whole other issue entirely, of course. And if you're in your legal right to bring the person to court, hey, by all means, you got to do what you have to do as far as that goes. Well, anyway, what I want to close with is that I think it's safe to say that hate and revenge are very strongly associated with one another in a lot of instances. But I think the one thing maybe we could focus on, instead of amalgamating hate and revenge, how about simply just hating revenge and not act upon it? This is Edwin Learnard. Until next time, people, stay well.